In the world of high-level cryptography and blockchain security, trust is a mathematical vulnerability. The general public thinks that keeping money safe means putting it in a bank with thick steel doors. But in the modern digital era, hundreds of millions of dollars can be stolen in a fraction of a millisecond with a single, perfectly crafted string of code. If you hold cryptocurrency, your entire net worth is protected by a seed phrase, a master password consisting of 24 random words. If anyone else sees those 24 words, your money doesn't just get frozen, it vaporizes, it vanishes into the digital void, completely untraceable, forever. I have spent my entire life designing encryption architecture to protect billions of dollars from the smartest hackers on the planet. I know how to lock things away so perfectly that not even a quantum computer could crack them. I just never realized that while I was building impenetrable walls of code to protect my future, my own wife was busy selling the keys. My name is Cyrus. I'm 35 years old, and I'm a lead cryptographer and hardware security architect. 5 years ago, I married Elena. Elena was a high-powered tech public relations director. She thrived in the loud, champagne-fueled, hyper-aggressive world of tech networking events and tech summits. I was the introverted, deeply paranoid engineer who preferred the absolute air-gapped isolation of my basement laboratory. We were opposites, but I thought we were the perfect algorithmic match. She was the front-end interface, and I was the back-end security. For 4 grueling years, I spent every night and every ounce of my personal savings developing my absolute magnum opus. I called it the Aegis Core. It wasn't just a hardware wallet, it was a revolutionary, military-grade cold storage vault. I had invented a proprietary multi-signature encryption chip that was fully resistant to quantum computing attacks. It was the absolute holy grail of the digital finance world. Major cryptocurrency exchanges and institutional banks were spending hundreds of millions trying to develop what I had sitting on my desk. The patents and the proprietary firmware alone were conservatively appraised at $40 million. I promised Elena this device was our empire. I told her that when I finalized the firmware, we would license the hardware to the biggest banks on Earth, and we would be set for life. But Elena didn't want to wait for the final security audits. She looked at my dark circles, my glowing monitors, and my basement paranoia, and she decided she wanted the $40 million without having to endure the nerd who coded it. And she found a billionaire who was more than willing to help her hack the system. The firewall of our marriage started to collapse when Elena's PR firm signed a massive new client, a global cryptocurrency exchange. The CEO of that exchange was a man named Julian. Julian was 38 years old and the absolute poster boy for everything wrong with the crypto bro culture. He didn't understand the underlying mathematics of the blockchain. He was a ruthless, flashy hype man who wore $100,000 Richard Mille watches, drove a neon green Lamborghini, and spoke entirely in aggressive buzzwords like paradigm disruption, alpha generation, and Web3 dominance. He ran his multi-billion-dollar exchange like a casino, treating brilliant, quiet engineers like disposable IT support. In my world, guys like Julian aren't innovators, they're walking security breaches. Suddenly, Elena was spending all her time at Julian's penthouse headquarters, claiming she was advising him on a massive global brand expansion. The red flags didn't just quietly appear, they triggered every single intrusion detection system I had. First, the profound, unapologetic disrespect. Elena started actively belittling my life's work. "Cyrus, you need to wake up," she scoffed one evening, tossing her designer bag onto our kitchen counter.
Julian manages $5 billion in daily trading volume. He flies clients to Miami on private jets. You're just a paranoid nerd sitting in a basement hoarding code. You lack corporate vision. Nobody cares about your quantum encryption math. They care about the marketing. Second, the intense, unnatural secrecy regarding her devices. Elena, a woman who lived her entire life on public social media, suddenly instituted biometric locks on all her devices and started using encrypted auto-deleting messaging apps. Third, and by far the most terrifying, was her sudden, highly specific interest in my hardware vault. Elena, who couldn't explain the difference between a Bitcoin and a JPEG, suddenly asked me exactly how the Aegis core generated its master 24-word seed phrase, and if the physical prototype required my biometric thumbprint to unlock the source code. When a PR director suddenly asks about the offline seed generation protocols of an unpatented $40 million cryptographic vault, you don't answer the question. You run a deep-level packet inspection on your network. When you build encryption technology worth $40 million in your basement, you don't rely on a standard Wi-Fi password. My entire home network was routed through a custom honeypot, a decoy server designed to quietly log every single byte of unauthorized data moving across the local area network. One Saturday night, while Elena was supposedly at a Women in Tech retreat in the city, my phone vibrated with a critical priority alert from the honeypot. Someone was actively attempting to execute a mass file transfer from my secure development server to an unauthorized external cloud storage locker. I didn't storm out of the basement and kick the door open. I simply isolated the connection, artificially slowed the transfer speed to a crawl to buy myself time, and mirrored her laptop screen directly to my monitors. She had her encrypted Telegram desktop app open, communicating directly with Julian. I didn't just find an affair, I found a premeditated multi-million-dollar corporate heist. Julian wrote, "My lead developers just looked at the compiled demo code you sneaked out last week. They are completely losing their minds. The quantum-resistant architecture is 5 years ahead of anything Binance or Coinbase has. If we launch this as our new flagship hardware wallet at the Global Web3 Summit in Dubai next month, our exchange token will skyrocket. The investors will hand me $1 billion valuation. Have you secured the physical prototype and the master source code yet?" Elena replied, her words dripping with a casual, horrifying cruelty that made the blood freeze in my veins. "I'm copying the master repository from his server right now. The idiot actually thinks I care about his stupid basement paranoia. Tomorrow, when he goes to his cybersecurity convention in Vegas, I'll take the prototype and the hard drive. We'll launch the vault in Dubai. I'll serve him with divorce papers the morning after, and we'll be on your yacht. He has no money to fight your corporate lawyers. He's just a sad, paranoid coder, Julian. We're gonna own the market." Julian responded, "You're a visionary, my love. The basement nerd is going to fund our entire empire." I sat alone in the dark, the hum of my cooling fans filling the absolute silence, staring at the glowing monitor as my entire reality shattered into a million pieces. My wife of 5 years was sleeping with a corporate parasite. Together, they were actively plotting to steal 4 years of my blood, sweat, and genius, intentionally hijack my masterpiece, launch it on the biggest stage in the world, and leave me utterly destroyed. They thought I was just a sad, paranoid nerd. They didn't understand the level of absolute, unmitigated digital destruction a master cryptographer is capable of coding.
If you want to destroy a fraudulent hacker, you don't unplug their computer. You let them steal your server. You let them load it with their own money, and then you give the password to the entire internet.
I didn't confront her. If I yelled and locked the lab, Julian's army of corporate lawyers would bury me in injunctions, claim they had a verbal contract to the design, and tie me up in court for a decade until I went bankrupt. I needed them to steal the prototype. I needed Julian to proudly stand on a stage in front of thousands of investors and put his own money inside my machine. So, I went to work on the firmware. I took the true, uncompiled master source code, encrypted it with a 256-bit key, and moved it to an air-gapped hard drive that I locked in a bank vault. Then, I turned my attention to the physical titanium prototype they were planning to steal. To Julian's highly paid, arrogant developers, the cloned code I left on the server would look absolutely flawless. It would compile perfectly. The device would function perfectly in all their private testing. It would securely store cryptocurrency and generate a flawless 24-word master seed phrase. But deeply embedded in the absolute foundational math of the final secure execution protocol, buried so deep in the hex code that no QA tester on Earth would ever find it, I wrote a logic bomb. I programmed a highly specific trigger. I knew Julian's massive ego. I knew that at the Dubai summit, to prove how unhackable the device was, he was planning to transfer an obscene amount of corporate liquidity into the vault live on stage. I coded the firmware so that if the vault detected an incoming deposit of more than $10 million and the user subsequently pressed the physical lock button, the payload would execute. It wouldn't encrypt the funds. It would bypass the secure enclave chip entirely. It would violently hijack the device's internal Wi-Fi node, connect to any available open network, and forcibly cast the ultra-secret 24-word recovery seed phrase via a screen mirroring protocol to whatever HDMI display the device was plugged into. I sealed the titanium casing. I left the cloned code on my server. The next morning, I packed my bags for the convention in Vegas. I kissed Elena goodbye. "Have a great trip, Cyrus," she smiled, handing me my coffee. "Take care of the lab, Elena," I replied, looking her dead in the eyes. "You know that project is my masterpiece." "I'll guard it with my life," she promised. I drove away. I let her bring the thieves into my sanctuary. I let them steal the bomb. Now, they just had to lock it.
I didn't go to Vegas. I flew straight to the downtown offices of the most aggressive, ruthless intellectual property and cybercrime litigator in the tech industry. I sat down at his mahogany conference table. I handed him my original time-stamped code logs. I handed him the high-definition security footage and the crystal-clear honeypot data logs of Elena and Julian explicitly conspiring to steal the files and the physical prototype. And finally, I handed him the official, federally approved patent documentation for the Aegis Core architecture, which I had secretly expedited and secured exclusively in my own name a month prior. My wife and her accomplice are going to debut this stolen, patented hardware at the Global Web3 Summit in Dubai next Saturday, I told my lawyer calmly. My lawyer reviewed the documents, read the chat logs, and slowly smiled like a shark smelling blood in the water. Cyrus, utilizing stolen, patented encryption hardware to solicit hundreds of millions of dollars from international investors, is massive, willful federal fraud. If he presents this to boost his exchange token, we won't just sue him. The SEC and the FBI Cybercrime Division will literally liquidate his entire exchange. Draft the paperwork, I said, but do not file the injunction yet. Do not stop the show. Let him plug it into the big screen. I want him to put his face on it in front of the whole world.
On Wednesday afternoon, my phone notified me that my lab door had been breached. Through the security cameras, I watched Julian's security team illegally pack my titanium prototype into a Pelican case. Elena left a white envelope containing divorce papers on my desk and walked out without looking back. They were laughing. They thought they had just executed the perfect, untouchable heist, but they had no idea they had just loaded a digital self-destruct sequence onto their own stage.
Saturday night, live from the main stage of the Global Web3 Summit in Dubai, the undisputed center of the cryptocurrency universe. I sat in my dark hotel room watching the global broadcast in high definition. The live stream had over 2 million viewers. Julian was hyping up the crowd, pacing back and forth across the massive stage, absolutely dripping with unearned confidence. The camera panned to the VIP section, and I saw Elena standing there, holding a glass of champagne, looking incredibly proud, believing she had just secured a billion-dollar empire. "Ladies and gentlemen," Julian yelled into his microphone, raising his arms, "today we don't just reveal a hardware wallet, we reveal absolute, unhackable perfection, the Aegis Core." The crowd of 10,000 hardcore crypto traders, developers, and hackers went absolutely wild. To prove how much faith I have in this this proprietary technology, Julian sneered arrogantly, I am going to transfer $100 million of my exchange's corporate liquidity directly into this vault, live on stage. He plugged the vault into the presentation podium. On the massive 100-foot LED screen behind him, the audience watched the blockchain transaction confirm. $100 million in crypto successfully landed in the vault. "And now," said Julian dramatically, holding up his finger, "I lock the vault. The funds are perfectly secure." He pressed the physical lock button on the titanium device. I looked at the stopwatch on my phone. I knew the math. My logic bomb executed. The Aegis Core bypassed the security chip. It hijacked the HDMI output to the 100-foot LED screen. Instead of showing a green checkmark saying secured, the screen went pitch black. Then, in massive, blinding white 50-foot-tall letters, the device's ultimate secret was broadcast to the entire stadium and 2 million people watching online. Master recovery seed phrase: 1. Apple. 2. River. 3. Shadow. 4. Engine. All 24 words of the master password were laid bare on the giant screen. The stadium went dead silent for exactly 2 seconds. Then, absolute apocalyptic panic and greed erupted. In a room packed with 10,000 of the fastest, most ruthless crypto traders and developers on Earth, everyone realized exactly what was happening. If you have the 24 words, you control the wallet. Thousands of people in the audience frantically pulled out their laptops and phones, their fingers flying across keyboards as they raced to import the seed phrase into their own wallets. Automated sniper bots watching the live stream scraped the text in milliseconds. Julian froze, his jaw dropping. He stared at the 100-foot screen behind him in pure, unadulterated horror. "No! Turn the screen off! Unplug it!" Julian screamed, totally unhinged, frantically tearing at the cables on the podium. But he was too slow. On the live broadcast, the blockchain explorer refreshed. Balance: $0.00. In exactly 4.2 seconds, a crowd of anonymous people and automated bots had swept all $100 million out of the wallet and scattered it across thousands of untraceable wallets globally. The money was gone, vaporized. The crowd in the stadium erupted into chaotic, roaring laughter and screaming. In the VIP box, Elena dropped her champagne glass. It shattered. She put her hands over her mouth, her face turning the color of wet concrete. She looked like she was going to pass out. Julian was on his knees on the stage, holding the empty titanium box, shaking uncontrollably, watching his entire empire burn to ash in real time. I took a slow, deeply satisfying sip of my bourbon, letting the burns settle in my chest, and texted my lawyer. Block mind.
You cannot unbroadcast a 24-word seed phrase to the entire internet. The fallout was an absolute, unmitigated, scorched earth massacre. The video of the $100 million disappearing in 4 seconds went viral globally within minutes. By Sunday morning, Julian was the biggest laughingstock in the history of decentralized finance. Because he had irresponsibly lost $100 million of his exchange's liquidity reserves, his exchange instantly became insolvent. Panic ensued, users initiated a bank run, and his multi-billion-dollar platform completely collapsed in 48 hours. But the real fatal blow came from the authorities. Julian was detained by Dubai police before he even reached the airport. Days later, based on the dossier my lawyer submitted to the SEC and the FBI Cybercrime Division, he was indicted for massive corporate fraud, gross negligence, and international intellectual property theft. He was utterly, permanently bankrupted, facing 20 years in federal prison. Elena's life was vaporized. Julian, realizing he was facing total ruin, immediately blamed her. He told federal investigators that she was a rogue PR director who had supplied him with a maliciously coded stolen prototype without his knowledge. He threw her to the wolves to save himself. She called me from a hotel room in Dubai, sobbing so hard she was hyperventilating. Cyrus, please, the authorities are here. Julian dumped me. The wallet gave away the passwords. You have to tell them you made a mistake with the code. Please, I have nothing. I didn't make a mistake, Elena, I said calmly, leaning back in my chair. I gave you exactly what you stole. You just forgot to check the back-end routing. I read your messages, by the way. Check your email. You've been served with a federal IP lawsuit. Enjoy the blockchain. I hung up and blocked her number. During our divorce settlement, she had zero leverage. Because she was facing criminal charges for corporate espionage against me, the judge awarded me 100% of the marital assets and denied her any alimony. She walked away with millions in legal debt and a felony record.
It's been almost 3 years since that catastrophic summit in Dubai. After the dust finally settled and the lawsuits were paid out, I sold the real, fully functioning, updated source code for the Aegis Core. I didn't sell it to a flashy crypto bro. I sold the exclusive rights to a legendary, highly respected Swiss institutional bank, a company that actually understands security, respects the math, and treats its cryptographers like true partners. I made enough money from that single sale to buy a massive new commercial cybersecurity firm, hire a full team of engineers, and my business has never been better. Last I heard, Elena avoided a long prison sentence by taking a plea deal, but she is completely blacklisted from the tech and PR industries globally. She is currently working at a cheap electronics repair kiosk in a suburban mall, replacing cracked phone screens for minimum wage, knowing every single day that she voluntarily threw away her golden ticket to the absolute top of the industry. Julian, completely bankrupt and ruined, is currently serving a 9-year sentence in a federal penitentiary for massive securities fraud. He has no exchange, no Lamborghini, and definitely no crypto. If there is a lesson to be learned here, it's a simple one. Never try to hijack a vault if you don't know the architect who designed the locks. If your partner thinks they can steal your hard work, push you into the shadows, and take the spotlight for themselves, don't try to pull the plug. Don't fight them for the server. Smile. Hand them the hardware, let them load it with their entire fortune, and let them confidently stand in front of the whole world. And right when they think they've secured their empire, just execute the payload, drop the firewall, and let the whole world take exactly what they deserve. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this one, drop a like, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments
What's the most embarrassing technological failure you've ever witnessed? Stay sharp, trust the math, and always, always protect your seed phrase.